My name is Scott Forstie. I'm the DB2Fry business architect. I lead the database development team on IBMI. Today, I'm here to talk to you about one of my favorite tools, IBMI Access Client Solutions. The prompt I was given was show some of the hidden gems and best features. So what I've curated for you today is a set of very specific examples that are in slides, but I thought it would be good to show you some real live demonstration of those same features. So both the presentation materials and the SQL script will be shared with you through the event organizers. So no worries there, you'll get it all. And with that, let's jump into ACS, Scott's view of the hidden gems and best features. So first, a little advert for ACS. I think it's a fantastic tool for anybody who interacts with the IBM I in any capacity. There are best of breed features for you here, and I've listed some of my favorites. Yeah, I started with IFS. If we have time, I'll show you why. Spooled files is just a game changer for me. Getting off the green screen for the top two is a step forward in your productivity realized through ACS. Of course, we all have 5250 emulators, but no surprise, I'm focused on some of the database tooling in a large part for SQL usage, and I'll show you some of my favorite SQL tips and tricks along the way. Best of breed tool, you bet. But like most things IBMI, you have to be determined to stay current. So on this page, I give you the downlink if you don't have this tool, or if you think you might be maybe a little behind, if you have never used it. So here's an extra special present for you today. There's a fine fellow over in the United Kingdom named Steve Bradshaw, and he created a video showing you step by step how to acquire and install ACS. So if you're not yet using this tool, start here. Make it easy go of it, get established, and have fun like the rest of us. Steve has gone on and created even more videos, as you can see, all the way up to part 18, maybe even beyond. The link in the blue is the key part here. If you value short educational videos on this topic, go to Steve's website, his webinars, and see which topic you want to drill and understand a little better. That's an easy, no charge education resource. But guess what? There's another one brought to you by yours truly and my counterpart. Some people say counterpart in crime. That's not true. Nothing's been proven. Tim Rowe. So Tim and Scott have this thing called IC Video Blogs, and they're primarily focused on how you can do things with SQL or with ACS or with Navigator or with all of those things combined in one. Again, no charge. If you want to get started and see some of the things that I can do with IFS and SQL and ACS, maybe start with this module. I picked it out of the over 100 free IC videos just for you, since we're here to talk today about these hidden gems and best aspects about ACS. So I would start here. Um, Give it a listen. Might have fun along the way, and then let your friend Scott know what you think and what you'd like to see next. But the most important thing is establishing a baseline. And if you have ACS, please look at your ACS client, and all the way over on the right hand side, there's this thing called help. All right, we don't need too much help here today, but we need to look at the help about, and that will teach you something about your very own ACS client. And I did this on mine, and here's what I saw. You see lots of information. Most of it you can largely ignore. The important bits are the version. And like most things, the versioning numbers are a little complex, perhaps, but very important. 1.1.9.12 is the very latest and greatest version of ACS. So if your version is a lower version number, are you in good shape or bad shape? Well, it really depends how old your client is. like all things technology, there have been not only enhancements, but security improvements. So, remediation of security vulnerabilities is one reason to stay current. The reason I want you to stay current is so you have the latest feature set that we've worked hard to build into this tool so that you can be as productive as possible. Okay, so 11912. Scott said, go there. Well, there's this other thing. I'll go back to one slide. Later, further down in the screen, you see the stuff about Java. I hate that stuff. I really don't want to pay attention to it, but I learned that since ACS is an application based upon Java, I couldn't just ignore it anymore. So I did what all users might want to do. I went and read what did ACS tell me about the Java that's being recommended. So why would they have recommendations for Java? Because they want you to have a good experience with ACS. And I started following their recommendations and my experience improved. So if you've ever had a situation where ACS seems to hang, that might be because of your Java version. So the top part of the slide shows you how to check your Java version. The other part is just look and help about of ACS. You'll see it right there. And then look over here on the ACS website and see, all right, am I using one of the recommended Java providers? And am I current? So if you take a few moments looking at that, you'll be much better positioned for success. Okay, we're almost done with the preamble. So this is in part letting other people show up, maybe just a few minutes late, but that's okay. How can you stay informed? All right, you're committed to staying current, but how do you know that another version is available? Well, you could watch the IBM web pages, but that's no fun. If you follow me on LinkedIn, whenever we have a new version drop, I send a post and I say some of the things about it, and I give the pointer to the full README. If you're interested in reading all the details, as you can see, other people in the community are giving the little thumbs up, right? That's how you know it just got a little bit better or a lot better. Feature sets are always in the eye of the beholder. So take a moment, become part of the conversation, and you'll be rewarded with insight and hopefully improved tools that you love. Okay, now let's dig into ACS. So the first part of ACS that I'm going to show you is slide driven, and then we'll bounce over to the live demo. So on the left-hand side, you see the ACS main banner. And it has groupings. It's got general, database, console, and management. And if you haven't used this tool before, you have to start with management. You have to spend some time establishing what IBM Is do you aim to connect to. Well, as you can see on the right-hand side, my system configurations, I have a great many of these. So if you find yourself in a situation where you have more than one IBMI, think of, is there any value to me as a user if I group those IBMI connections? Well, if the answer is yes, the blue arrow is pointing you to groups. All I did was system configurations, and instead of creating a new configuration, I can launch into creating groups. And once I realized this was there, I took some time. I created different groups for the different tasks I was doing. Because usually it's the task that drives which IBMI you're working with. And in this case, you can see I'm an active tester in different environments. So I have different tabs, which are different group names. First time you use this, you'll only see the default group. What does this let me do as a user? Why should I care? Well, the groups make it easy to navigate to the specific IBMIs you want to use when you're doing this task. And then you can even put in the description some more information about them. As you see here, I even added in which IBMI operating system release is on which system. So it helps the user. So I don't have to have things written down on paper so much anymore. So I just have it right there in my group. And if we look at a specific single system configuration, so you have to go through this tabs to have anything listed there. Well, you give the name of the IBMI. In this case, I have the fully qualified IP name, and then your own description, and then which group does it belong to? You won't see anything show up here until you choose to start creating groups, and then you'll see the drop down show all the groups. The other interesting bit is under connections. So there's password prompting options here. And the one I typically use is the second one. Why is that? Because I'm typically going to that tool with the same IBMI user profile name, in this case, Scott F. So that makes it very easy for me to establish the next connection using the tool. If you need to switch up which user profiles you use, then password every time. Now, every time really is every time. So it can be a little bit of a burden to have to go through that every time, but you get to pick and choose. All right. So make a choice that fits well for you. Sometimes if I decide I need to have different personas for a specific IBMI, I'll just go into this configuration and I'll change it to prompt every time until I'm done, and I'll go back to my normal user profile. Tricks of the trade. So projects. And this is a hidden gem. I'm sure of it. Who would look under the file pull down for something awesome? File pull down is for exit or open, right? You have to have those. But projects give you a different kind of concept. We've already talked about grouping IBMI connections using system configurations. What about grouping run? It's very common for people to have more than one SQL script that comprise together, um, represents one unit of work. What project are they working on? So as you see here, I can choose to load a project. I get to give it a name, ACS demos in this case, or migrate active end-to-end testing, or whatever you want to have. The contents of our project are as many different SQL scripts as you want. And this is really easy to do. All you have to do is open all those scripts in a Run SQL Scripts window. And once you like what you see, go into project and do manage projects, the lower one, and say save. And so as soon as you save it, then you can go back and load it. It makes it easy for the user to bring in SQL scripts. But there's even a more fantastic feature. I just built this one last night. So there's drag and drop support. So if you're like me and you have a little bit of trouble like keeping things organized, and where is that a set of SQL, just navigate um, in your Explorer to whatever folder contains the topic you want to work with. So now this one's not a project, it's a folder. As you can see, Power Up 2026, what is that? I was just at Common's largest yearly in-person event in New Orleans in April. It's called Power Up. And as you can see, I had a great many presentations, but I interlaced within here, you see there are some with .sql. So I can just drag and drop that folder onto Run SQL scripts, and kapow. I have all of the SQL scripts loaded into my Run SQL scripts, and I can even navigate between the scripts quite easily using the editor pull down. You can see I click on one and make it active, and then away I go. It did not try to bring in the PowerPoints or PDFs or things that just don't pertain to the tool. So what a great way to get started and get established with this shining star we know is Run SQL scripts. Now let's look at this curated, fancy word, demo script that I've created for us today. First thing, we're looking at Run SQL scripts. What are some of the things I'm noticing? Well, the very first thing I'm noticing is this recovering unsaved files. So this morning, I started a fresh version of ACS on my Mac. Is what I've been using lately, and it loaded in all of the ACS Run SQL Scripts windows that had never been saved. Yes, ACS could be your BFF for all the stuff that you're working on because you don't even have to remember to save it. The first time you restart ACS, it will bring it back to you. Okay, so this is a one-time opportunity. Now, I, as a user, should really go through these tabs and see, is there some brilliant bit of SQL that I want to save? Okay, then do a save as. So the tool is there trying to help you so that you don't lose your SQL. The other things we're seeing here in Scott's demo script is I start with comments. So you can have comments with just dash dash, and it turns the rest of the line green. And if you don't have dash dash, then it changes. And now it's expected to be valid SQL or CL. But I'm going to put the dash dash back. Okay, green is good, as they say. Now these are all comments, but some of them are actionable comments. So I put in some helpful links here for other resources for you. And these are all things that I'm working on. I'm your SQL tutor. Me and my team bring all the IBMI SQL services, the IC video blog that I mentioned, or sometimes I publish working SQL solutions in GitHub for clients, including you. Any of these things you could do, as it's saying there, command. If I press the command key and click on it, it's going to pop up into your default web browser. So as soon as I came to understand this, I started to interlace not only just comments, but links to resources in my SQL, just to make it a little bit more profound and robust. So let's go into some SQL. I've created a query here for us today, and it's a standard query with a select statement. It's looking at syspartition stat, which is one of our DB2 provided statistical catalogs. And I'm only going to return one row, and it looks like only one column. So what am I doing here? So this is a little bit of SQL to look at the members within a multiple member physical file and find the name of the most recently created member. And like any good demo, it's stuck. Isn't that funny? Oh, this is what happens with ACS all the time. And yes, this was planned. Communication link failure. So what do I do when I see this? Connect, reconnect. That's the best way to get back going. All right, so now we have our active connection. We see it here in this handy dandy message. The current job, qualified job, is also at the bottom. If you know this stuff, you just have to click here, and I copied it into my clipboard. So if you need to go to that job for some reason, no worries, just click below. Now let's try our SQL again, and we see very fast behavior. So this is the most recently created member in that multiple member physical file. With me so far? Good. So it's not an SQL table. It's a multiple member physical file. So how do I query it? How do I treat it like something normal? Okay, use SQL. I'm going to create an alias, and I'm going to tell it, okay, you know what aliases are, right? They're an alternate name for something. So I want the name qtemp SQL PC to be used for this library, this file name, this member name. And I can just say, yeah, create that in my qtemp. And now, instead of trying to query this, horrendous construct, or this is not normal SQL, I've turned it into something very friendly. Just a standard select star. And now I'm drilling into that latest member. And I'm doing this to show you a couple things. The world is your oyster with SQL, and run SQL scripts. It's just bound by your imagination and knowledge. So you're here for knowledge, okay? The imagination part. Think of the things that you would truly love to do. And if you're not getting the answers out of this session, you have my email at the front. We can interact in person at one of the upcoming conferences, or let me show you a few things that I've learned along the way. So now, is this good data or not? Well, as a user, you see what I have at the top here? I have more than the column names. But friends, you have to choose to use this. Okay, we're going to go into preferences for a moment. And under results, so everybody gets to choose their own preferences. Under results, the very first thing is column headings. So it has 4 options. Which option are you using? This is important to know because the default is this thing called name. If I change it to name and apply, say okay, and rerun my query, I have this. So the question we have to ask ourselves, which one's better? And this is one of those situations where it may not be the same answer for all users. But with the insight that we know that we can customize the tool's environment to present the data in the way that we think is best, I'm going to choose name and label or label and name. I think label and name today. Yeah, let me do that. Go back, say, okay, reapply. Now I'm right clicking on the query results and you see there's a refresh. I don't even have to find where that query is in my script. I can just say refresh it. It goes like this. But if I run it from here, now I see, okay, the full embodiment. And to me, this as a user, this is better because int sec, mm, my, I might not know what that is, but I have the label name, elapsed interval seconds. Brilliant stuff, I think. The other things we're seeing here, what are we seeing here? Look at this. The current plan is a big integer, but the tool has automatic formatting of numeric values. And you get to choose whether to have this enabled or not. So make a good choice, and you'll be rewarded with a better behaving tool. As we can see, we have many columns, and this is normal. So what I typically recommend is that when you're working with a query, using select star is an okay place to start because it lets you discover what's there. But don't end there, friends. Don't end there. You want to customize your environment to the things that you care about. You have full control. So if I do um, F4 here, I can prompt. Oops. And I just created a window that's not going to go away. Let me kill ACS. It's probably good to show you a quick restart. I did say quick. There we go. And this lets me highlight a few other things. See, we got the recovered. One of the things I like to use is recent files. Boom, we're right back where we were. I love that recent file capability. Let me go into other aspects while we're here. So here's a query that's looking at the index advice. So this might not be a name that you're used to seeing. I was asked to show some hidden gems. So in QSys2, there's a view with the name cond IDXA. What is that? Condensed Index Advisor. Condensed is better than raw index advice because we wrote a piece of code that will find common index advice that's complementary in which table and keys it's being advised over, but it can be combined into a single row rather than multiple rows. So condensed gives you a better view of what the SQL query engine is asking for. So let me execute that. And this is going to show you something a bit different, actually, because in this query, we see there's actually a three-part name. Did you notice that? Whereas these are two-part names. For a three-part name, the first part is the remote relational database. So as you can see in the top of the window, Common 7.6, right, is what I'm using. I can go from the current IBMI to a different IBMI with SQL. I said, okay, I want to query common ones, condensed index advice, and I'm going to use predication. I'm going to have a where clause and say, I don't care about IBMI operating system advice, but I do care about the times advised. And I want to do descending and just show me the limit of 10. So top 10. Now we have the answer, and the actual times advised is over here. You can drag and drop and put it in. Maybe we'll start with the first. So you can see that this is the most advised index on some other machine. Wow, I can do that with SQL. What this requires is the establishment of a relational database directory entry so that this database can talk to a different database. If you're interested in this topic, those guys, Scott and Tim, are going to be publishing how to do this in one of their IC video blogs. The other thing I want to show you here, though, is how do you feel about the formatting of this SQL statement? It's all in one line. I don't feel so great about it. So I'm going to go to the check mark. See that format selected? It has an SQL formatter. And this, in my view, is the best SQL formatter yet in any tool. And it's customizable. No surprise that edit preferences is going to give you the chance to not only see results like we did the name and label, but SQL formatter. How do you prefer to have your SQL formatted? Some people like to have it really narrow and longer, some people wider and shorter. There isn't a right or wrong. But if you're working with SQL and your intention is, I need to put this SQL into a source physical file member, oh boy, this is a tool for you because you can change the maximum line length to be a number equal to or less than the record length of your source physical file member. So that's what I would do if that's where this SQL is going to end up, because you don't have to spend time fussing with it, which is great. Nobody wants to do that. Let the tool do it for you. Or shift over and start saving your SQL maybe to the integrated file system. You still need a maximum line length just for usability sake. So there's not a right or wrong here, but go in, customize your SQL formatter to meet your requirements. Okay, let's go on to some different things. In my view, Run-SQL scripts is the best place to develop your CL program code. And you can interlace SQL with CL commands in a Run-SQL script using CL colon. And we're doing something very simple here. We're just creating a library. So that's all well and good. Let's show something also a bit common. Some people like to use display object description. I want to go find objects, right? Is where the usually starting. I want to go look within a library for objects. Why do I want to do that? Could be lots of reasons. Could be size or space management. Could be security. Maybe it's just application availability. But if I put my cursor anywhere on here and do a prompt or content assist, I get a fully functional CL command programming dialog. So it makes it easy to see all of the different options for this command. And display object description is not the most complex command, but it's got some choices to make here. And radial buttons could be there, or maybe you have some down clicks with arrows. The other thing I love is this help. It has the best help for CL commands that I've seen at so far, because you get the HTML representation of the help text. So this is far better than looking at it on a little green screen, right? Full-bodied, interactive, right? So I can understand all the capabilities of something and then make changes, and away I go. So the way you execute a CL command, you just double click it, just like you did with SQL, and it ran. It was successful. How long it took? So now I've run a display object description and I put information to an output file in QTemp. QTemp is a library unique to my connection. So now I can query it. Wow, isn't this great? Look at this data. Isn't it beautiful? I have ODDDAT here and this is odd time. Yeah, that really is odd. I have to agree with that one. But what century is it? If you find yourself working in this environment, it's time to go into the bright blue sky, sunshiny SQL world. There are SQL services that are alternatives to these techniques. This is well established techniques for working with objects, and it was the best of breed at one time, but no more, no more. So if we just show a little bit of grit and determination to use SQL, we can instead use what's known as a table function. Use this to object statistics. Cool stuff. That's my library. You could have cool stuff too. I'm going to look in there. I'm going to find all the object types with file. So essentially the same kind of request of the operating system, but we're using SQL. Let's turn it loose in all its glory. Well, you decide. So now um, we're seeing information in relational form. So no single character century or odd time. We're seeing timestamps. Great. I love it. And we have all kinds of detail. And this means it's very simple for us to think of the questions we want answered. Now, before I go on, let me show you something else. In the lower left-hand corner, you see it only returned the first 50 rows. So how do I know whether there's more data? Well, it's telling you, hey, there's more rows available. How do I get the more rows? Well, there's two ways. I could scroll down and you see it got 50 more like that. So now there's 100, but there's still more data. So I would not want you scrolling. I want you to use this little hidden gem in the lower right hand. There's a down arrow with a bar underneath it. If you see that and it's not gray, it's actionable. Click on it. Okay, it got it all. So if I'm using this to work with slightly larger data, I'll do the first query, then click the blue arrow, then I'll do something else while it's chugging away getting the data. But I don't have to scroll, scroll, scroll. Okay. Another nice feature, hidden gem, no longer. But we're seeing SQL services could be a really nice assistant for answering whatever questions we have. Other things we have here are, well, okay, well, I have information here. Um, what if I want to share this with a colleague, or I have to save it away because I want to reference it later? The query outputs. How do you save it? Well, you could go through and select all this stuff and do uh, copy. Don't don't do that. Don't do that. So what I want you to do is remember the query results are actionable. Right click in the query results and you have save results and upload results. Save results lets you save it to a spreadsheet. Whenever you see the dot, 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 you have nothing to be concerned about if you click it because you know you're going to get asked a question. The question is, what sort of spreadsheet type would you prefer? Pick the one that you want, and then where do you want the spreadsheet to go? And give it a nice name. Do I want the column headings or not? So I'll just say demo today. And I'm going to use XLSX today. Adjust the column width. Did you see how that appeared when I chose a different spreadsheet type? Let me go back and show it again. CSV. Okay, now it's gray. What's going on here? What's going on here? Okay, certain spreadsheet types have features that are not available in other spreadsheets. And this is one of them. So as you can see in the data below, some data is fixed. It's always the same width, but other data is variable. So if you choose XLS or XLSX and adjust column width, you're getting the form factor where the spreadsheet should already be organized such that you are positioned for not having to fuss with it. And look at that, it popped right up and there's my data. Isn't that nice? Kind of show it as much as I can. This is going to be very different if you choose CSV. Again, not a right or wrong, depends upon what you're intending to do with the data. Now, if in your system, if this is grayed out, save results, do the following: edit, preferences, connections, enable saving of results. So this is not checked by default. We had a long debate about whether we should check it or not. And as of yet, we have not gotten consensus from our stakeholders on what is the best default behavior. So at the moment, the default is not checked. So if I represent the default behavior of the tool, you won't be able to save things as spreadsheets. So just go into connections, click it, and you're good to go. The other thing, since we're on the connections tab, is suppress inquiry messages. Sometimes the database is so nice, so very, very, very nice. When you take an operation that is a fundamental change to a file, it's going to ask you if you're serious. Do you really want to do that? But in a run SQL script session, it's not very easy to answer those kinds of inquiry messages. So I like to suppress them. This is putting a little more on me as a user. I have to know what I'm doing, but I do know what I'm doing. So don't make me answer inquiry messages. That's my choice. You decide how you want to do it. Since I'm in here, the other thing I did was the first number of rows. I already showed you the 50. This defaults to 100. I like to go to a smaller number because I want it. What is that? Snappy. Yes, I want it to be snappy. Bring me back data as fast as possible, and then I know how to do the go get all the data. So you customize it to how you want. I'll go in here one time and you'll be in good shape. All right, so I'm going to cancel out of here. And now let me show you something a little bit different. Ever heard of the retrieve dir inf command? Let me prompt on that one. Oops. Communication error, contacting system. It can't even let me prompt on retrieve dir inf. So retrieve dir information is a command that everybody has, and its purpose is to give you a way to discover what's in the integrated file system. And yeah, it's super powerful, and maybe it's super popular. I'm not quite sure. I'm here to show you that there's an SQL alternative to that wonderful command. It's called QSys2 IFS Object Statistics. And it's a table function. So just a small amount of SQL syntax you have to learn here. Table functions need to be preceded with a keyword, table, and a parentheses. And we can see the tool is actually matching the parentheses for me when I click on it. If I click somewhere else, the matching goes away. If I click on the parentheses, we can see that we have a fully formed, everybody has a friend and it's closed up. And now I can ask questions like, under Scott's home, okay, it's my home, right? Home Scott F. What is the largest size IFS object? So to find that, you just order by allocated size, descending, easy peasy. And now I didn't have to know any of the stuff you need to know to use retrieve dir inf. Retrieve dir inf is going to create temporary tables that you need to go query or maybe join. Okay, this is so easy. I would just use this technique. I'm getting all the columns, so maybe not the final form of what I want. And the allocated size is over to the right a bit. There it is. And as you can see, I've got a couple of objects under my home that are by far the largest, and then a whole bunch of other ones. So, what does this mean to me as a user? Okay, it means that apparently I have some cached Java instances that take up a lot of space. And you can use this as your discovery engine for home directories or for whatever in IFS you want to curate. and curate. That's what I did here. I said, like, okay, this business about select star needs to end. Let's get to something a little bit nicer. Curated list. Look at that. Isn't that much better than all those columns? IFS Object Statistics has upward of over 90 columns. So you won't want to end there. Just pick the ones that are pertinent to the topic you're addressing. Um, all the better, I think. Um, I'm doing allocate. Allocated size, yeah, that's the one to look at for how big something is. Top 10 list. Hmm. Okay, now I'm not just ordering, but I'm limiting. What is limit 10? That means at most return 10 rows. And that's what we have here. Top 10 list. Okay, so now we're getting somewhere. Um, Sometimes when you see data like this, you have to ask yourself the question of, all right, well, do I need to come back to this? Do I want to save it? I already showed how you can save data to a spreadsheet. Let me show you a couple of other options. If I right click on the data again, upload results, dot, dot, dot. Okay. This lets me save the query results to that IBMI. So I choose the schema. Schema is just an alternate name for a library, and the table name, and whether to replace it if it exists. So you can save it resident on your IBMI if you want to go back and query it later. You needed to refer to it later for some reason. So that's all built into the tool, and it's dialogue driven. Or you could learn how to use the create table SQL statement. So this essentially does the same thing. And if you learn this little bit of SQL, you'll have done yourself a big, big, big favor, because now you know more than just querying data. You know how to save it into a DB2 table. So create table, and then there's different variants of create table. We're going to use as. And as always followed with a begin and an end parenthesis. So what goes within those parentheses is up to you. But what I would recommend doing is work on your query until you love it, and then put that query in between those parentheses. As you see, it's the same query as the previous. So this is where I was doing my development and test, and now I'm going to use it. Okay, database, go run that query and populate a table with the results. The only other thing you need is the trailing part with data. There's also an option with no data. Well, in this case, I want the table created with those 10 rows. It fails, and that's okay, because I already did it when I was testing the script. So this is a failure, but it's a good failure. Yeah, that data already exists. So now a short test. And in just a couple minutes, I'm going to pause and look at the chat to see if there are questions that I need to answer before the end of the session. So do you see the syntax problem in this bit of SQL? Kind of looks like the last one. Maybe there's no syntax problem. So ask yourself the question, how do I know if something has an SQL syntax error? And the answer is the formatter. So the formatter's for more than formatting. It's also there to tell you if there's an SQL error. So this one's fine. So it was a trick question, but let me make it invalid. I just added a parentheses. Nothing blew up. Nothing went red, blue, or otherwise. But now it's not syntactically valid. And I don't have to try to execute it. I can just say, hey, try formatting it. And look at that. So we have context sensitive syntax assistance. Isn't that wonderful? So there's a couple things I recommend here. Under view, line numbers. You see, I have it on. Let me turn it off. Let me turn it off. Okay, maybe your script looks like this. What is the database telling you? Oh, at line 89, there's an error. Okay, where's line 89? I don't see it. Ah, this is why I like to have view line numbers on, because I can say, oh, line 89. Okay, the problem's here. Well, in this case, it's the red box is showing you where the problem is. So you have to just go back, right? What's the most recent thing? Well, okay, previous line. Okay, the parentheses match up, Scott. That's perfect, right? Mm-mm-mm. As you can see here, it's the first parentheses matching with something inner. Well, there's the outer. If I click on this one, where's this matching friend? I don't see anybody. So this is telling you, go back a little bit. This is your problem. Fix it. Rerun. Now I got no failure. It can be a little bit confusing though because the screen is still red. What I like to do is click on this, clear the messages, and because I fixed my syntax problems, now click again. Okay, no red is showing up. Now we're good. Good to go. Make sense? Hope so. Okay, one more thing, and then we'll go to the Q&A. A basic query. I did all this top 10 lists. You can have 10 lists on any topic you want to have. This is just showing you a database table. It's got 10 rows in it. If you add in the for update clause, you can turn it into an editable table. A friend of mine works in only security topics, and she hates this feature because it's too powerful. Oh, no, no, no. I said, okay, the users, they need to be able to get things done. So if I go in and double click on a cell, I've just gone into an editable cell environment. So if I change that to 7, as soon as I click out of this, you see that? It's actually updated. If I go back to my base query, remember I changed it to 9.7, it was 9.6. So this is a way to update data in a table. So now you know the great power, use it wisely, be careful. Um, but I think it's brilliant stuff because it allows you to get something done fast. Do I want you to learn how to use the update statement? Of course I do. But I find a lot of people find value in a quick ways of doing things. So with that, let's go over to the Q&A. Did you get any for me? Um, okay. So pretty much no questions at this point. Um, and that's fine. Let me show you a couple other things, and we'll probably go for like 5 or 6 more minutes. As you can see here, I have many, many tabs, and this is normal for me as a user. And I can scroll to the left. Look at that. Or I can scroll to the right. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, don't scroll too fast. You'll start closing windows. Cancel. Turns out I just closed our demo script. So scrolling to the left, you really have no risk. Scroll to the right, just go slow. Now I'm going to bring back our demo script. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? I don't see it. It's actually way off on the right. When you add scripts, they're always on the right. So the hidden gem is this editors. So if I go into editors, it'll show me one row for every tab that I have open in this run SQL script session. And then I can click on any of them to activate them. So now I'm back to my handy dandy demo script, which was, oh, I'm just doing what I told you not to do. Let's go edit. Shazam. There we go. You're seeing so many of the hidden gems and best of breed tools here. Wow, isn't that great? Let me go down to just do a couple more. Services info. So the database team has been creating IBMI SQL services as alternative to SEAL commands and APIs. We've been doing this for over 13 years. You can see we have 50 tools for you to use. Somebody should be screaming, no, there's more. Click on the down arrow, Scott. Okay, go for it. Oh my gosh, there's over 400 tools. So this has to be part of your vernacular. Learn how to spell SQL. Okay, if you don't know how to spell SQL, that's fine. Services info. This will tell you what are all the different SQL services. And way over in the right hand, we give you a working example of how to use those services. So with Run SQL scripts and SQL services and all the features here, we're trying to make it so that anybody who doesn't feel that proficient in SQL can do a lot. You're just bound by your own enthusiasm for this topic. So let's see what kind of tools there are. I'm going to use a group by, and I just did. So group by is a way of aggregating information to show a summary report. I just used the service category. So if you want to group by the service category, you need to have that in your select list, and then you can tack on things like min, max, count, sum, the aggregate type of built-in function. In this case, I want a simple count, and I want to control the column name. So is this required? No. And I see some people use this style, and it just makes me sad. It's just because look at that. My column name is 00002. That's no good. You know, all you have to do is type as and give it the name that it reflects. And there's different styles here, and some of this is programmer preference, but some of it is just table stakes. Control your query results, curate them. I've said that too many times. What? So that they make sense to you and to others. All right, we're seeing there's lots of tools here for us to use. Some of the latest and greatest tools I don't even have in the script. Let me go to a new window and show you. There's a good one. You can see I've just showed you how to drill into insert from examples and start typing in the type ahead filter, and you'll see different matches. In this case, I'm going to show you how to generate a spreadsheet. So you can use SQL to generate a spreadsheet. You don't have to click on the query results and to generate a spreadsheet. You could just use sys tools, generate spreadsheet. Where do you want the spreadsheet generated? What type of spreadsheet? In this case, I'm saying the SQL to execute is found in the IFS. Go look in this IFS stream file for the SQL query. So this one to generate a spreadsheet, and then this guy to email it to Tim Rowe. He really loves these emails. So please show some love to him on this topic. So generate spreadsheet, send email, all through ACS. Easy peasy. It's built into the tool. Insert from examples, the script I'm showing you today, all those lovely scripts that I shared links to. There's tons of working examples for you. Insert from examples, probably the number one place to start. I showed just getting into here. It's so much fun. And like I promised, I'm not going to go through all the slides. There's a whole bunch here for you to reference, and you can go through them at your leisure. And hopefully that makes it easier to remember what we've covered today. Thank you to Sandra for inviting me here today as your guest. I was happy to be here, and I hope this was of some help to you all. ACS brought to you by Scott. See you at a future event.
Hey, and Scott will be at Empower 2026, so we hope to see the LX community there strong.
Join
Thank
me
you,
there.
Scott.
You're well worth it. Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks, everybody.